So tonight you want to check out component-to-component interaction. So in the, I think second class we had on ReactJS, was it first or second on ReactJS? I gave us an assignment that you should write a composition about yourself. Then I also asked you to split things into different components. So if you attempted that, you will find it easy to understand what you want to do tonight. Now, I explained to you in our first class on in ReactJS when we got to React that you write your code inside this app.js, then you export it out so that you can import it here, then you put it here. Whatever you have there will be rendered on the page. Then, you see, writing all your code in this app.js will make things rough, and it will be difficult to maintain, difficult to debug. Having all your codes inside a single file or inside a single component, let's start from component. Having all your codes in a single component will make things difficult to maintain. So it's better you split your code into different components so that a component will just do a specific thing. A component will just do a specific thing. Also, splitting things into different components allows you to reuse your codes. If you want to repeat something, you can. It makes it easier to reuse your code. Remember, don't repeat yourself. Don't repeat yourself. So splitting into different components makes it easy for you to reuse your codes. So I want to have a landing page. I just want to write some information about myself. But on that page, I will have header, I will have the body of the page, and I will have footer. Header, body, footer. So instead of putting all of them inside this, or for a start, let's try to put everything inside this. Then later we split things into different components. So I say, okay, someone is raising up his hand. Okay, you can ask your question, Daniel Lights.
Sir, please, sorry to stop because I can't see the screen.
Oh. Others, please, can we see my screen? Hello, Ibitayo John. Reginald. Can you see my screen? I want to be sure if it's your network or mine.
I see your screen.
Okay, I think it's your network. Okay. Well, thank God the class is being recorded, so you can go to the recordings. Sorry for that. Now, let's split it into, we have header, we have the body, and we have the footer. Now, I can create, let's say, a div. This one can be my header. In my header, I can have anchor tags. Let's say home. Let's put it inside the span. Okay. I will copy this. Copy this about. Then let's put tag to make it easier to read. Oops. Okay. So I'll just copy this, paste it here also. Let's say contact. So this div handles the home, the header. This part is for the header. So we'll get another one, we call it body, then we get another, we call it footer. So let's just use head, body, foot. head, and this can be body. Is it body now? Main. Yeah, main. Someone wants to join. Okay. Main, header, main, and the footer. So the main will be here. We can say in this main we have maybe welcome to my page, welcome to my page, the circles. Okay. Sorry, someone wants to join also. Then let's do that of the footer. Let's say on the footer we just have I am the footer. So this is the footer. Let's put span. This is the footer. Okay. So we have this header, we have this main, and we have this footer. So here's our page. We're just trying to explain component to component interaction. Now, writing all your codes inside this place like this. Of course, this main part we keep expanding. We still add a lot of things to this main. Because when you're building websites, you add many things here. So instead of doing or writing everything inside this app.js, you can split things into different components. So with that, it becomes easier to maintain your page. So that you know that whenever you want to deal with the header, this is the component you go to. Whenever you want to deal with the main, this is the component you go to. And whenever you want to go to the footer, this is the components you go to. So I will split these three, the header, the main, and the footer. I will split these three into different components, such that each component will just handle a part of the three. We have header component. Let's first do that. Let's get the header component. So we come here and say const header. Sorry, someone wants to join. So I say const header equals to this. Note that a component must start with uppercase, not lowercase. That differentiates it from HTML tags. So const header, I'll take everything about the header, then put it inside this component. For the sake of those of you that just joined us, we are looking at component to component interaction in tonight. So from there, we move to props in tonight's class also. Component to component interaction, and we talk about props. So everything about the header tags will be taken there. So I'll cut this one out of this place. Cut. Then I'll bring it here. Return this. So the header tag is now here. Then how will, sorry, someone wants to join again. So I have the header tag here and everything about the header here. So instead of writing this here, I will just bring in this component here. Wherever I put the component, everything inside it will be taken to that same place. It will be moved there. I come again. Wherever I put the component, everything there, everything inside there, everything inside this place now will be moved there also. So once I come and say header, you use it as like a tag, like this. Once I put the header tag, note this starts with uppercase. If it were to be like this, I'm using the HTML tag, but in this case, I'm not using HTML tag. I'm using this component header. So let's do that of main and footer. So I'll create components for that too. Const main. You can call it any other name aside main, but I think calling it main also makes it obvious that this is our main component. So I'll say return come here, cut this one out of this place, put it here. So if someone wants to join, then let's do that of the last part, which is the footer. Put main here, header, main, and footer. Let's cut this one out like this. Okay, any questions so far? Let me ask us if you have any question on this. Let me know. Any question? Can we continue? Hello everyone. Can we continue? Okay. Let's
Yes.
move on. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So we still have the same results, just like before. We still have the same result. Now it becomes easier to maintain because I know whenever I want to deal with header, I come to this component. Whenever I want to deal with main, I come to this component. Whenever I want to deal with footer, I come to this component. Now note that we are still exporting just the app. Look at this here. We are still exporting just this app component. But inside this app component, we now have the header component, we have the main component, and we have the footer component. In this case now, this app component is known as parent. This header is known as child component because it is inside, you are using it inside the app component. So we call this the parent component and we call this the child's component. This main is a sister component to header. Footer also is a sister component to main inside this app. The three of them are inside this app component. This is one of the children of app, same as this, but these three, they are sisters component. The reason I'm saying this is because there will be sometimes where I will say sister components. I'm talking about two components lying side by side or lying inside a parent component. So when I say sisters components, I'm talking about two components that are inside a parent component. Okay, so this in this case this is the parent and these are the children. Now another thing you can do is this. You can take this component and put inside another file so that this app.js becomes light. Instead of putting all your codes inside this single file, it makes things neater. So I'll create a folder. I can call it components folder. Components. Inside this components folder, I can put all my components there. So if I come here now, I can create one for the header.js. So you come here and you take this, where's the header components? Okay, yeah, this is it. So I just cut this one out of this place, like this. Cut it out. Come here, paste. Now we need this inside this, but of course, if I run this code, my code will not work because this header is no longer here. My application will break. It's not working because it can't find this header in this file. It's looking for this header. So we need it here. What you can do is you export it out. You export it out. Export. I can export it as default header. So after exporting it out, now I can import it elsewhere. So I want to import it here so that I can use it here. So I think so here is it. Import header from components/header. Inside the components, you are going to this header. Remember I told you that if it is .js, if the extension is .js, you don't need to put the .js. So export header from this. Any question? Oh, before we go, I have a question for you. Why is this not inside curly braces? Let me see if you still remember what we did in our first or second class. Why is this not inside curly braces? Who can tell me?
Well, it's default.
Good, thank you. Because it is the default. Because it is the default. So I explained to you that if it is the default, you don't put it inside curly braces. So imported, after importing it now you can put it here. So same thing, we do the same thing for main and we do the same thing for footer. So I come here, I create another component called main.js. Then come here, cut this out, paste, export default main. Then bring it here also. So you import it, you use it here like this. So that is the same thing for footer also. We cut out this one out of this place. Records one here. Then paste, export default footer like this. Then okay. So we have all of them here and our code will still work fine. Now the beauty of components is this. If you want everything inside that component, if you want to display them again, you want to reuse the things in that component, then all you need to do is to rewrite that component. What do I mean? You see, inside my main component, where is the main? Here's the main. I have this welcome to my page, we sell clothes. If I need everything here again, elsewhere, all I need to do is just to mention the name of this component. So I'll come here again and put another main here. I'll just do something like this. So it's going to do this twice. It will display everything inside this place twice. You can see it. If I need it again, all I need to do is to put another main. Are we following me? Any questions so far? Now, something you need to keep in mind is that this main, we have it 3 times, main. Each of them is independent of the remaining 2. Although this main component displays these 2, is the one responsible for displaying these 2, they are different. Whatever happens to this here inside this app.js does not affect this, and we're going to check that out when we get to props. Whatever happens to this here does not affect this. Whatever happens here does not affect this. Any question on that part, on what I just said? They are independent items here inside this place. The reason we are just using main is because we don't want to rewrite the same codes. It's just like this. Look at this part. I'm coming. Give me a second. Come here. I will comment out this part. Paste, paste, paste. You know, whatever happens to this now does not affect this. Whatever happens to this does not affect this. That's the way it is also with these 3. Yeah. Whatever I do to this now, the only difference, the only similarities is just that they display the same thing. But in the real sense, they are independent items. This is totally different from this. And this is totally different from this. So that's the same way it is here. These 3 components, although the 2 of them are main, but they are independent items. They are independent items. So let's move on. We want to move to something we call props. So let's say inside this main, I want to display welcome to, instead of my page, I want to put the name of the page. Maybe the first one I can say welcome to, let's say the page is, I want to say Taye's page. Sorry. Please, can you hear me?
Yes,
sorry. A call came in here.
Right
Sorry.
now.
Okay, let me continue. So I want this to be welcome to Taye's page for all of them. Let's start with the same thing. I want this to be welcome to Taye's page. So I can say let's name equals to Taye. Okay, so I'll just say welcome to name page like this. You understand? Welcome to name page. So this is going to display welcome to Taye page for the first person. For this one will also be welcome to Taye page, and this one will also be welcome to Taye page. Let's go to the browser and see the results. Welcome to Taye page, welcome to Taye page, welcome to Taye page. Any question on that part before we move on? But then, since there's no question, let's move on. I don't want the two of them to be Taye. I want the first one to be welcome to Taye's page, we sell clothes here. The second one, welcome to Kenny's page, we sell shoes here. The third one, welcome to, let's say, Ido's page, we sell, let's say, bags here. So first one, Taye selling clothes, Kenny selling shoe, then Ido selling bags. So what you're going to do in this case is this. You remove this one out of this place. For now, let me put Taye here for now. How we pass down something we call props. Props are like parameterized functions. Parameterized function in JavaScript. Parameterized function. You know, when you are calling a parameterized function, you pass your argument to your parameter, and the argument you pass becomes the value of the parameter, then the function will know how to handle it, right? Please, are we following me? Props are more like parameterized functions. So we want to pass, you can pass a value here. I can say name equals to Taye. This one, name equals to Kenny. Your name equals to Ido. These are more like HTML attributes, right? It looks like HTML attributes. So what happens is that when it wants to display these components, this Taye here will be sent as the value of name, and that will be passed down to these components so that you can receive that value and do whatever you want with it. I come again. When you put something here like this, it's not you must call it name. You can call it any property of your choice. So a property and a value, then that will be sent to that. Let me press this. That will be sent to that component. You can receive it there, then do it the way you want. Now, how do we receive these values? Let me first start with one. I will remove this two for now. How do I receive this Taye inside this component? How do I do that? You can receive it here as arguments. We used to call it props. It's not a must to call it props, but you can call it anything, any name of your choice, whatever you want. But the convention is, or the norms is to call it props. This props is an object that takes whatever you send down to that component. Is an object that takes whatever you send down. Whatever you send down will be inside these props as a property of these objects. Whatever you send down will be inside these props as a property of this object. So I'll pass down, let's say, department, software, like this. So I'm passing down two properties, name and department. Let's come here and see what we have inside props. I'll say console log props, like this. So that you see how it looks like. So department software name Taye. It's the same thing here, department software name Taye. Let's move on. So you can now extract it. I can come here and say display props dot name. This props is an inbuilt object in ReactJS. It takes whatever you send down, then you can, if you now need those properties, you say props dot name. So this will be props. This will be, since the name here is Taye, so this will be Taye. So let's go to the browser and see. I have Taye page here like this. Any question on that? If I want to display departments, let's just put it somewhere here. Let's put it underneath here. I'll say props dot department like this. So we have software here like this. Okay. So, but I want this to be, instead of writing this and coding this here, I'll send it down as props. I'll pass down something here called goods. I can just say goods. Then this can be clothes. So this will be we sell dot goods. So this will be welcome to tire page. We sell goods, clothes here. So for the second person, I can pass down what I want. It's gonna be Kenny. Then the goods can be shoes. Then for this, the goods can be bags. So for this, remember I told you that these things are independent. That is, this is different from this. This is different from this. The only thing that makes them look similar is because they are using the same codes, but they're actually totally different. For the first one, this name, this tire will be sent as a value of name, this clothes will be sent as goods. And when it gets here, it will insert it here appropriately. For the second one, name is Kenny, goods is shoes. So when it wants to display it, Kenny will be here, shoes will be here. For the third one, name will be the goods will be bags. So this will be double and this will be bags. Any questions so far? Can we proceed?
Yeah, let's see the codes. Where is written?
Okay, let's move on. Now let's do a bit of destruction. Sometimes you may be passing down many props. You may choose to pass down many props. So for that reason, you have to say props dot something, props dot something, so I can destructure things out. Remember I told you props is an object. So I can destructure name out of the object. I can destructure goods out of the object too. So I don't need to say props dot name again. I can just say name. I don't need to say props dot goods. I can just say goods. Welcome to name. Since I've destructured it here, who can tell me why we have curly braces here?
Because we are destructuring an object,
Perfect.
not an array.
Good, thank you so much. Because we are destructuring an object, not an array. If it was to be an array, it would have been square braces. But because it's an object, we have curly braces. So we have this display the name and display the goods, and we still have the same results. So component to component interaction makes it easy to reuse your codes. And again, keep something in mind. These three components are different. They are different. Now let's talk about how to change the values. Maybe I want something like I want to be able to change maybe my name to something else or to another name entirely. I want to be able to change my name. Maybe there will be a button in front of each of these to change the name to something else. Or better still, I can put something like we sell 5 clothes. This one can be 10 shoes and this one can be 15 bags, so that I can increase the goods I sell and I can reduce the goods. I think that would be better. Let's just add numbers here. So for the clothes, I can add maybe quantity. This one can be 5. This one can be 10. There's no emojis. Let me also say this. It's not just strings that you can add there alone. We say, don't worry, we say how to add other things as we move on. QTY, this one can be, let's say 20. So let's display these 3. I can destructure this QTY here too. So we sell QTY goods here. So we sell 5 clothes here, we sell 10 shoes here, and we sell 20 bags here. So I'll put a button at the front of each of these. Let's say. Okay. Button. Increment. So the button will affect the 3 of them. When I click on this button, oh, why is it? Okay, this is a div. Oh, sorry, I want this to be at the front. Okay. So when I click on this button, I want to increase this to 6. When I click on this button, I want to increase this to 11. When I click on this, I want to increase this to 20. Oh, sorry, to 21. Do you get it? When I click on this button, you add 1 to this. When I click on this, you add 1 to this. When I click on this, you add 1 to this. So far, if you are lost, please let me know. If you don't understand what we've been doing, please kindly signify. Okay, I want to believe everybody understands what we've been doing. Now, I need to say this. This name, goods, and quantity, they don't belong to main. They don't belong to main. Main is only borrowing them from app.js. You passed it here in this app. They don't belong to main. Props don't belong to when a component receives props, the way this is doing, these values don't belong to that component. And for that reason, whenever you want to change the value of a variable, it must be changed. It must be changed by the component that owns it. Do you understand? Values, when you're passing down props, those props, whenever you want to change them, it must be done by the component that owns it. I love using an example. Imagine you borrow someone's clothes and you decide to slim fit it. That's not cool enough, right? So that's the way it is if you try to change it inside this component. This component only borrowed these 3 values, name, goods, and quantity. It doesn't own them. So whenever you want to change it, the changes must be done by the component that owns it. So if you need to change let's say I want to increase this quantity now, it must be done by this app.js. So let's pick this first one. Remember I told you also in one of our classes that if you want a situation whereby when you change a value, you want to reflect that change, you want that changes to reflect on the page immediately. What do you do to it? Let me use it to ask us a question. If I want a situation whereby I have a value and when I change it, I want the changes to reflect directly on my browser immediately. What do I do to it? What do you do to it? You make it a state. Can we remember? Hello, everybody.
Can you repeat your question, please?
Okay.
Yes,
Can you
sir.
repeat your question, please?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I said when you make changes to please can we mute our mic? Can we mute our mic? Oh, someone is setting up. Please mute your mic, everybody. So I explained to us in one of our classes that when you change a variable and you want your HTML to automatically reflect the changes, you make it a state. You make it a state. With that now, your HTML can automatically reflect those changes. Do you understand? So if I want this name to be dynamic, maybe I want to be able to change this name to another thing with the goods and the quantity there, I make them to be states. So that when it changes, when any of them changes, the HTML will automatically reflect it. Can we still remember the class we had under states?
Yes.
So we are going to take these 3 now, name, the goods, and quantity. We make them states. So let's do that here. We can say let's say details set details equals to use states. So I can make this to be an array of objects. The first person, remember I told you whatever you put here will be the initial value of this, right? This is an array of objects. The first person has a name. Let me make this easier to read. The first person will have a name. The name is Taye. Has goods, and let's say clothes. Then as QTY, and that's 10. So this for the first person. This for the second person. And this for the third person. Okay. So instead of writing this here 3 times, we can use our map. Remember, details now will be this, right? Will be this array of objects. Can we remember? I told you whatever you put inside this state becomes the initial value of this. If it's an empty string, details will be an empty string. If it's an empty array, details will be an empty array. But in this case, it's an array of objects. Oh, class ends in 15 minutes time. Okay, don't worry, we'll still be able to handle. Now, in this case, this is an array of objects. That means details will be an array of objects. Details will be an array of objects. So we come here and say details dot map. We can say detail return. Let's add detail and ID, the index. So you say main. Let's write this something like this so that you understand what you are doing very well. For now, I will remove these ones here. I'll remove this. I'll remove this. You know, we have 3 items here. Are we following me? There are 3 items here, right?
Yes.
So that means this main will be displayed 3 times. I explained in one of our classes that when you are running a map like this, whatever you have inside this map will be displayed based on the number of items inside this array that you are mapping. So main will be displayed 3 times like this. We have this. Let's move on. Now, of course, when you are using map, you add a key property. For now, we still use the index as the key, just like before. Now, once you pass properties, I can say name will now be detail dot name. Do you understand? So for the first person, the name will be Taye. For the second person, the name will be Kenny. For the third person, the name will be Ido. This detail represents each object in details, each of the item in details. So name is now detail dot name. So for the first person, the name will be Taye. For the second person, the name will be Kenny. For the third person, the name will be Ido. Okay. What else do we have there? Goods equals to detail dot goods. Then for the third one, what else? Quantity detail dot QTY. So if we come back here, we'll just say Ctrl Z. Okay. So for the first one, the name will be passed here, which will be Taye. Goods will be clothes, and the quantity will be 10. For the second one, the name will pass here also. Kenny is his shoes now, and the quantity is 20. For the third one, the wool, bags, and the quantity will be 30. Keep in mind, each of these main, each of them, although you will see 3 of them on the screen, but they are totally different. They are totally different. So we have this. Oh, maybe I didn't set this. Okay. We have this now. So the good thing about this is that if I had a new item to this array, let's say for any reason I added or I pushed a new item to this array, that's one. Don't worry, I'll give us that as assignment. If I add a new item to this array, my HTML will automatically reflect it. But anyway, we are not going there now. What we want to do is when I click on this button, I want to change this quantity. I want to increase the quantity. So remember I said the owner of the state must be the one to change that state. This detail, of course, in that case, the name, the goods, and the quantity, they don't belong to main. They belong to app.js, and it must also be the one to change it. It must be the one to change it. So what we will do is this. We will add a function here to change it. Function, let's say increase quantity. Increase, or let's just say increment anyone. So I'll say alert, just alert something. So when I click on this button here, I want to call on this function here. That's what I want to do. When I click on this button, you want to call on this function. So we need to pass down this function to this main component so that we can call on it here. Any question? Are we following? Okay. So you pass it also as props. Again, you pass it down as props. I can call it anything. I can call it increase. Then I want it to be this function, increment. So I'm passing down this function, increments. Passing it down. So let's call it, let's save it here. So that I won't have to say props dot increase. I can destructure it also. Increase. Then when you click on this button, on click, then you call on this function, increase. So now when I come here and I click on this button, you have this. When I click on this, you have this. When I click on this, you have this. In case maybe you find it a bit confusing, let me go over it again. This function, to change the value of the state, the function to do that must be inside our component that owns that state. So I created the function now. We are here to write the main body of the function. Well, what we first want to do is to ensure that when you click on this button, you call on this function. That's what we want to do. So you create the function, you pass it down as props also, just like the way you did all of this. Just like the way we did. Pass it down, then you receive the props and you add it as an event. When you click on this, you call on that function. The reason I just use increase, the reason I didn't use increment is so you see that it's not a must to use the same name. You can use any name of your choice. This is increment, but this is increase. Okay, let's move on. Now, again, I said there are three main on the screen now because there are three items inside these details. And each of the main is different from others. So whenever you want to increment, your code must know the one you are trying to increase. Do you understand? Do you get it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There are three.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. So there are three main on the screen. And whenever you want to increase or increment whichever one, your code must know the one you are trying to increment. So let's do that here. So I have an high. For now, we still use the index. I have my high here. So I can say that whenever I click on this, pass this index here. Pass this I. This high. You have it here. Pass it. Then I can say index alert index. With this now, it will alert the index, the high, so that we know the one we are trying to increment. Is it the first one? Is it the second one? Is it the third one? So come here, 0, 1, 2. Now, some people do things like this, maybe, but what I'm about to do now, I think it's easier to understand. Over time, I observed that it seems students find it easier to understand than what I just did. So that's why I'm introducing it, I'm mentioning it so that in case whichever one you understand, just understand one of them. You may not want to do it like this also. This I, you can pass it down again. I can call it any name. I can call it index equals to hi. I'm passing down this down. Then I'll remove this from here. So let's receive the index here. Index. So on click of this button, you now pass the index back up. So for the first one, you know the I will be 0. For the first main, the I will be 0. So index will be 0. You are passing it, you are saving it here. And when you click on this button, you are passing the index as an argument to the function increase. So you can come here now and receive it here. You see have the same results. Whichever one you find it easier to understand is fine. Just understand one of the two. So with this now, I can now know, oh, this is the one this user is trying to increment. So I can say, let's all details equals to details. Then say all details dot find. I think we've done something like this in one of our classes. Find was, or let's just say var index. Find the one where index is the same. Is the same as high. Find the one where the index is the same as high. Then let's font detail equals to this. After finding it, if I say console log font detail, you see that particular one. Let's go to the console. We are running out of time. Okay. So click on this. You see that particular object. Click on this. You see that particular one. Click on this. You see that particular one. So we've seen that one. You now want to add one to the quantity. Just come here and say font detail dot qty plus plus. That is, you're adding one to the quantity. Then you say set detail. You put details. I think this from our you shouldn't. I think you should be able to understand this. This from our previous classes. We are not using this for us, so I can silence it. Now you are passing the index. Oh, someone is using a pen. Okay, you can ask a question. Latif or Latayo, you can ask a question. Okay, I think maybe it's not here, we are even running out of time. So set details all details. So this is going to, this part we find it will look for the user whereby the objects, whereby index is the same as this I. Then you increase the quantity of that particular one and you set it back. So I think everything works fine now. You say, so it's working. Any question? Ask your question. Yes, AJ, ask your question.
Sir, please, is there any way we can put what you've done so far in tabular form?
In tabular form, yes, we can. Maybe in our next class, we'll do that. I think from one of our classes also, our previous classes, I believe you should be able to do that also. But in our next class, we'll do it together. Any other question? Okay, Kingsley. Hello, Kingsley.
Yeah, my question is the props.
Okay.
Is it just only for the function of the props? Is it just only for um, object modeling of the stuff? Is it just for only object stuff? That is the function of props.
Props.
The one you use that. Yes.
Props are just used to send values from one component to another component, from a parent component to a child component. And props are objects. These values can be of any data type. These values, you see, this is a string, this is a string, this is a function, this is a number, this is this is an integer. So it can be of any. In fact, you can also send an array back down. But the whole item, everything, is seen as an object. So inside the object, you can now destructure the properties you want to destructure out of them.
Okay. Wow. Thank you so much. I'm clear now. Thank you.
Now, assignments. So, what our assignment will be is this. I want you to add a delete button inside. Okay, let me continue with the recording. So the assignment is this. I want you to add a delete button in the front of each of these parties. Let me break this another line. I will have a button. I'll say delete. When I click on that delete button, it will remove that particular item. So when I click on this delete, this will be taken off from the screen. When I click on this, this will be taken off from the screen. When I click on this, this will be taken off from the screen. So please do that for me. I have a delete button here. If you like also, you can add a decrement button to this. You can play with this, add maybe change name. You can play with it the way you want, but this is what I want specifically for my assignment. Add a delete button to the front of each of them. When I click on that delete button, this will be removed. When I click on this, this will be removed. When I click on this, this will be removed. So that's the assignment. Alright, thanks for coming.